His mistress slapped me in the hospital hallway while I was still wearing a surgical wristband, and my husband told me to apologize to her. I tasted blood, looked at Evan's hand wrapped around Sienna Blake's trembling shoulders, and finally understood that he had chosen his reputation before he had chosen his wife, so I turned my phone face down in my palm, kept the recording running and said, "Ask me again when my brothers get here." Evan's face changed. He thought I was bluffing. For 5 years he had worked hard to make sure I stopped calling the Callahan men. He said my brothers were controlling. He said they looked down on him. He said a wife who ran home every time she was hurt was never really married. I believed him for too long. Then the elevator doors opened at the end of the VIP hallway. Liam walked out first, still in his courtroom suit. Noah came behind him in blue scrubs from another hospital. Caleb was last, quiet, broad-shouldered, and carrying the old leather jacket he used to wrap around me when I was a teenager and too stubborn to admit I was cold. They stopped when they saw my hospital gown, my swollen cheek, Evan's hand on Sienna's back, and the red print of another woman's fingers across my face. Liam's voice cut through the hallway. "Why is my sister bleeding while you are protecting another woman?" No one moved, not Evan, not Sienna, not the nurse frozen beside the medication cart. I touched the corner of my mouth, looked at the blood on my finger, and removed my wedding ring before Evan could answer. The slap made a sound I had only heard in movies until it happened to my face. Sharp, clean, public. For 1 second, the VIP hallway at St. Andrew's Hospital went perfectly still. The nurse at the medication cart froze with her hand around a scanner. A man in a grey suit stepped out of a room and stepped right back in. Somewhere behind me, a heart monitor beeped with steady indifference. My cheek burned, my abdomen pulled where the surgical tape covered the small incisions from the emergency procedure they had done 6 hours earlier. I was barefoot in hospital socks, one hand on the 4-pole, the other pressed to the wall because my knees were not reliable yet. Sienna Blake stood in front of me in a cream coat that probably cost more than my first car. Her eyes were wet, her lipstick was perfect, her palm was still raised. "You selfish little martyr," she said. "Do you know what you did to him tonight?" Him, not me, not the woman who had called her husband 11 times from an emergency room before signing surgical consent alone. Him. Evan Mercer moved between us at last. For one foolish breath, I thought he was going to check my face. He did not. He turned to Sienna. "Are you okay?" I stared at the back of his head. 5 years of marriage can die in one sentence if the sentence is placed correctly. Sienna touched her own wrist as if she were the injured one. "She came at me. I came at you." My voice sounded thin but clear. "I am attached to an 4-pole." Sienna flinched dramatically. "You said I ruined your marriage." "You did." Evan turned then. His face was pale with anger, but not the kind I expected. He was not angry at Sienna, he was angry at me for saying the quiet part where other people could hear it. "Claire," he said, "stop." I almost laughed. I had been stopping for years. Stopping myself from asking why Sienna texted him at midnight. Stopping myself from reminding him that I had paid off his private fellowship loan. Stopping myself from calling Liam when Evan said my oldest brother enjoyed making him feel small. Stopping myself from asking why the woman who ran hospital fundraising knew the smell of my husband's shampoo. Now I was standing in a hospital hallway after abdominal surgery with another woman's handprint on my face, and he was still asking me to stop. "No," I said. Sienna gave a broken little laugh. "You see, this is what I told you. She twists everything." Evan stepped closer. "You need to apologize." The hallway tilted. I gripped the 4-pole. "For what?" "For upsetting her, for making a scene in my hospital." His hospital, not the hospital where I had nearly passed out in triage, not the hospital where a nurse named Maria held my hand because my husband would not answer, not the hospital where I woke up from anesthesia and heard the surgeon say, "Your emergency contact still has not responded." His hospital. Sienna wiped a tear. "I did not come here to fight. I came because I was worried about Evan. You came to the recovery floor where his wife was admitted, because you kept calling him. I was being taken into emergency surgery." Evan's jaw tightened. "You were stable." I stared at him. "You did not know that." You did not answer. His eyes flickered. There it was, the truth landing where other people could see it. "I was at a foundation event," he said. "My phone was with my assistant." "Sienna is your assistant now." Sienna gasped. Evan grabbed my wrist, not hard enough to bruise, hard enough to remind me that I was weak, barefoot and alone, except I was not alone anymore. I had pressed record the moment Sienna began walking toward me at the nurse's station. I did not know she would hit me. I only knew her face carried performance. And performance likes an audience. My phone lay face down in my palm, recording everything. Apologize. Evan said again, lower this time. Do not make me choose between my career and your pride. That sentence did what the slap had not. It cleared my head. I already know what you choose. The elevator doors opened. Liam arrived first. My oldest brother had always looked like a verdict even before he became a trial attorney. Dark suit, dark eyes, controlled fury. The kind of man who asked questions slowly because he already knew the answer. Noah came behind him, still in scrubs. His hospital badge from Mercy General clipped to his jacket. He saw the 4-pole, the wristband, the way I held my stomach, and his whole face changed. Caleb came last, quiet as weather before a storm. They had not stood together in front of me in almost 2 years. Evan's hand dropped from my wrist. Too late, Liam saw. Why is my sister bleeding while you are protecting another woman? Sienna stepped behind Evan. Interesting. Noah crossed the hall in 3 strides. Claire, are you dizzy? I am fine. He looked at my face. That is not an answer. I am not dizzy. Pain. 6. She should not be standing, Noah said, looking at the nurse. The nurse snapped back to herself. I told her not to leave the room, but she heard raised voices and her eyes went to Sienna. Liam followed the glance. Name, he asked. Sienna lifted her chin. Sienna Blake. I know who you are. I asked for the incident report, Evan said. Liam, this is a private matter. Liam smiled without warmth. Then why is my sister's blood in a public hallway? Caleb had not spoken yet. He was looking at the ceiling corners. Camera there, he said. Another by the nurse's station, possibly audio at the desk, not here. Sienna's face changed. Evan noticed. Liam, take it down, he said. This is not a courtroom. No, Liam said. It is a hospital, which makes it worse. Noah took my elbow gently. Bed now. I wanted to resist because the old Claire hated looking weak in front of her brothers. That Claire had spent years proving she was fine. Fine with Evan forgetting dinners, fine with Helena Mercer calling me sensitive, fine with Sienna's name always glowing on his phone, but my body chose for me. My knees softened. Noah caught me before Evan moved. The shame of that almost broke me, not because Noah caught me, because Evan did. Not. As Noah guided me back to my room, Sienna whispered, this is exactly what she wanted. I stopped. Even Noah stopped with me. I turned around slowly. Evan's face warned me not to speak. I spoke anyway. You slapped a post-operative patient in a hospital hallway. Say that clearly before you call yourself the victim. Sienna's eyes widened. Evan said, Claire. I lifted my phone. Careful, the recording is still running. No one spoke. The hallway heard what my marriage had refused to. In my room, Noah helped me into bed. He checked the foresight, my pulse, the incision dressings. His hands were professional, but his jaw was clenched. Liam stood at the foot of the bed, already typing. Caleb closed the door halfway but not fully. Leave it open, I said. All 3 looked at me. I do not want anyone saying we hid. Liam's expression softened for half a second. Then Evan appeared in the doorway. Sienna was not with him. That alone told me someone had told her to disappear before security arrived. Claire, he said, using his careful voice, the one for donors, patients' families, and me when he wanted compliance. Your brothers are escalating this. I touched my swollen cheek. No, Sienna escalated it. He looked exhausted. She was emotional. So was I. I did not hit anyone. Noah muttered. Good distinction. Evan ignored him. Her father is chairing the committee that decides the trauma center appointment. Do you understand what is at stake? I looked at him for a long moment, then I laughed. It hurt my stitches, but I could not stop. I lost something inside my body today, I said quietly. I woke up alone. Your mistress hit me, and you are talking about a committee. His face changed for the first time. Something like guilt moved through him. Too late, always too late. Liam stepped forward. Evan, leave the room. I am her husband. I looked at him. Not for long. The words came out before I planned them, but once they were in the room they fit. Evan stared. My brothers did not. Maybe they had been waiting years to hear me say it. Evan lowered his voice. You are drugged. You do not mean that. I reached down, twisted the wedding ring from my finger, and set it on the rolling tray beside the plastic cup of ice chips. I have never been more awake. The first thing Liam did was ask the nurse for my chart. The first thing Noah did was argue with my attending physician about discharge timing. The first thing Caleb did was stand by the door and watch everyone who passed. That was my brother's law body threat assessment. When we were children, after our parents died, they divided the world that way. Liam handled paperwork and adults. Noah handled fevers, broken bones, and panic attacks. Caleb handled locked windows, strange cars, And the boys who thought the youngest Callahan girl was easy to scare because she was small. I used to feel surrounded by love, then Evan called it control. He was subtle at first. Your brothers mean well, but they still see you as a child. Then, Liam enjoys humiliating me. Then, Noah thinks doctors like me are arrogant. Then, Caleb ran a background check on me. What kind of family does that? A careful family, I knew now. A family that had seen something I refused to name. By year 3 of my marriage, I stopped Sunday dinners. By year 4, I replied to family group texts with hearts instead of words. By year 5, my emergency contact was Evan alone. At least I thought it was. Caleb came back from the nurse's station with a printout. Your emergency contact was changed 6 months ago. I frowned. To Evan. From Evan. Liam looked up sharply. Caleb handed him the paper. Noah read it over Liam's shoulder and swore. What? I asked. Liam's voice was too calm. Your primary emergency contact was updated to Evan Mercer, and secondary contact was listed as Sienna Blake. My room went silent. That is not possible. Caleb looked at me. Did you authorize that? No. Noah's eyes went flat. The hospital called Sienna before surgery. A nurse named Maria stepped into the doorway with medication cups. She froze when she heard the question. I looked at her. Maria, her face shifted with fear. Mrs. Mercer, I am not supposed to discuss administrative. Liam handed her his card. I am Claire's counsel for personal matters as of 10 minutes ago. You can tell my client whether the person listed as secondary emergency contact was notified when her husband did not answer. Maria hesitated, then she closed the door. Dr. Mercer was called first, multiple times, no response. The secondary contact was called because the surgeon wanted someone informed before anesthesia. Ms. Blake answered. My stomach turned. What did she say? Maria's mouth tightened. She said she would reach Dr. Mercer. And did she come to the ER? Noah asked. No, she came to the VIP floor after surgery. After. Not when I signed consent alone, not when I woke up asking whether Evan had called back. After. To slap me. Liam wrote something down. Who changed the contact? Maria looked toward the hallway. The system shows Dr. Mercer submitted the update through internal staff access. Evan, of course. I remembered him asking for my hospital portal password months ago because he said he wanted to add our insurance information. I remembered giving it to him while frosting a cake for his mother's birthday. I remembered him kissing my forehead and saying, "See, we are a team." I swallowed. I need a copy. Maria looked nervous. I can print the patient-facing contact page. The audit log is more complicated. Caleb spoke for the first time in several minutes. Complicated is not impossible. Maria almost smiled. I will see what I can do. After she left, I lay back against the pillows. The room smelled like antiseptic and wilted flowers someone had sent to the wrong nurse station. Noah pulled a chair close. Claire, I need to ask you something as a doctor, not as your brother. I nodded. Did Evan know you were pregnant? The word hit the room carefully. Pregnant. No one had said it yet. The doctors had called it an ectopic pregnancy, non-viable, dangerous, emergency, internal bleeding risk, laparoscopic surgery, follow-up, rest. Clinical words were easier. They did not say baby. They did not say grief. I found out this morning. I said. My voice sounded distant. I was going to tell him tonight after his foundation event. Then the pain started. I called him from the kitchen floor. He did not answer. Noah closed his eyes. Liam turned away. Caleb stared at the wall as if choosing which part to punch. I did not know long enough to imagine much, I said. But I knew. Noah's voice softened. You still lost something. I looked at my hands. Evan arrived with Sienna's perfume on his coat and asked me to apologize. That was what I had lost too. Not just the pregnancy, the last possible version of him I could defend. Liam sat beside the bed. Claire, I am going to ask directly. Do you want us to handle this, or do you want us to support you while you handle it? That question was why Liam had always been dangerous in the best way. Evan would have said, let me handle it. My brothers asked who I wanted to become. I took a breath. Support. Liam nodded once. Then we follow your lead. Caleb held up his phone. I already saved photos of your face, the hallway cameras, the contact page, and Evan touching your wrist. I will send them only if you ask. Send them to Liam. Done, Noah said. And I am requesting a patient advocate. Will St. Andrews give me one? No, I am requesting one, so they have to say no in writing. For the first time that night I almost smiled. The door opened without a knock. Evan again. Liam stood. Evan looked at me, then at my brothers, then at the ring still sitting on the tray. His face went tight. Claire, can we speak alone? No, he inhaled. Fine, then hear this with an audience. Walter Blake is furious. Sienna is shaken. The hospital administration is worried about exposure. If this becomes a formal complaint, everyone loses. I looked at him. Everyone. He did not like that. You know what I mean? No, I said, I really do not. His eyes flicked to my brothers. Liam, you know how institutions work. This can be settled. Liam's smile was slow. Your mistress hit my sister while she was recovering from surgery, and you want to discuss settlement before anyone has filed anything. Fascinating instinct. Evan's jaw tightened. Noah said, also, why was Sienna listed as Claire's emergency contact? Evan went still. There are moments when a lie enters a person's face before words are ready. This was one. I did that for convenience, he said. Caleb spoke softly. Whose convenience? Evan ignored him. Claire, you were always overwhelmed by your brothers. I thought if something happened it would be better to call someone nearby. Sienna was nearby because she was with you. He looked at me then. We both knew. The room knew. Maria returned with discharge instructions she pretended to review while listening. Evan lowered his voice. Do not burn down our marriage over one terrible night. I touched the ring on the tray. One terrible night showed me 5 years. His eyes hardened. You are emotional. I am. Then do not make legal decisions. I looked at Liam. Can I make legal decisions while emotional? Yes, Liam said. People sign divorce petitions sad all the time. Noah made a sound that was almost a laugh. Evan's face flushed. You are making a mistake. Maybe, but it was mine. That mattered. The apology statement arrived with flowers, white lilies. I hated white lilies. Evan knew that. They smelled like funeral homes and waiting rooms. He had sent them anyway. Because men like Evan often confuse gestures with repair, the envelope was tucked beneath the vase. Claire, for everyone's sake, sign this before noon. We can still keep this from becoming ugly. The statement was 2 pages long. I read it in the hospital bed while Noah argued with a resident outside my door and Caleb photographed the lilies like they might confess. The first paragraph said I had been under physical and emotional distress. True. The second said I had misunderstood Sienna Blake's presence at the hospital. False. The third said I had used inappropriate language toward Ms. Blake, causing a panic response. False and disgusting. The fourth said I regretted escalating a private marital matter in a professional medical environment. I stopped reading. Liam took the paper from me before I tore it in half. Do not damage evidence. I hate that you are right. I am often hated for correct reasons. He read the rest. His face did not change, which meant it was bad. Clause at the end says, you decline to pursue civil, criminal, administrative, employment, media, or ethics complaints against Sienna Blake, Evan Mercer, St. Andrew's Hospital, the Blake Foundation, or related parties. Caleb leaned over. That is not an apology, that is a release. Yes, Liam said, a rushed, ugly one. I looked at the lilies. Did Evan write it? No, Liam said, a lawyer wrote it. Evan delivered it like a coward. At 10:16 a.m. Sienna arrived, not alone. She brought a woman in a grey suit who introduced herself as Meredith Lane, legal liaison for the Blake Foundation, not Sienna's attorney. She clarified, not hospital counsel, just someone hoping to facilitate privacy and healing. People with money loved those words when they meant silence. Sienna stood behind her wearing soft blue, hair loose around her face, cheekbones pale, eyes red. She looked like a woman recovering from assault rather than one who had committed it. You should not be here, Liam said. Meredith smiled. We are not here to upset anyone. Then leave. Sienna stepped forward. I wanted to apologize for letting my emotions get the better of me. I waited. She continued. But Claire, you have to understand how frightening you sounded. There it was, the apology that arrives carrying a knife. Noah, who had entered behind them, said, she was 6 hours post-op. Sienna's lips trembled. I know, and I feel terrible, but she accused me of terrible things in front of staff. You are sleeping with my husband, I said. Meredith lifted a hand. That is exactly the type of statement we are hoping to avoid. I laughed. It hurt, but I laughed. You are hoping to avoid facts. We are hoping to avoid defamatory claims. Caleb looked up from his phone. Truth is a defense. Meredith's smile faded. Sienna looked at Evan, who had appeared in the doorway as if pulled by discomfort. He stepped inside. Claire, sign the statement, then we go home and we talk. Home, our home. Is Sienna coming too, or does she only get my hospital records? His face tightened. Sienna whispered, Evan, I cannot do this. He turned to her again. That tiny movement was becoming the story of us. I picked up the statement. For everyone's sake. I read aloud. Who's everyone? Evan said. Do not perform. I learned performance from your girlfriend. Meredith's eyes sharpened. Mrs. Mercer, if you continue making unsupported accusations, we will have to respond formally. I held up my phone. You should. Then I played the recording. Sienna's voice filled the room. You selfish little martyr. Then the slap. Then Evan. You need to apologize. Meredith's face changed first. Sienna's changed next. Evan closed his eyes. Liam said, for the record, my client will not sign your release. We are requesting preservation of security footage, staff notes, access logs, emergency contact audit trails, and all communications involving this incident. Meredith recovered quickly. That is aggressive. No, I said. Aggressive was being slapped. This is documentation. Sienna's tears spilled. You are trying to ruin my life. I looked at her. You hit a patient in a hospital. Your life is not the only one in the room. Evan stepped toward my bed. You are turning into your brothers. There it was, the old poison. I felt it enter me, looking for the soft places it used to find. It did not land. Good, I said. He stared. My brothers came when you did not. Silence, then his mouth hardened. If you file anything, I will have to explain why you have been unstable for months. Noah moved so fast Liam had to touch his arm. I lifted my hand. Noah, he stopped. Evan saw that and misunderstood it as fear. You cry at night, you quit half your cases, you avoid family events, you have been depressed since your mother-in-law's care became too much. I have protected your privacy. Claire, my mother-in-law's care, his mother, I had coordinated her nurses, paid several bills he said were temporary, missed my own clients when she fell, sat beside her when Evan was at conferences. Now he turned my exhaustion into evidence. I said, thank you. He blinked. For what? For making the threat clear. Caleb quietly lifted his phone, recording. Evan saw it too late. Liam stepped between us. Dr. Mercer, leave. Any further communication goes through counsel. I am her husband. I looked at him. My husband would have answered the phone. That one reached him. Good. After they left, I signed nothing. Instead, I signed a request for my complete medical record, a police report intake for assault, a hospital grievance form, and Liam's representation agreement. My hand shook after the fourth signature. Noah noticed. Enough for today. No, I said. One more. I took a blank sheet of paper from Liam's legal pad and wrote, I will not apologize for being hit. Then I folded it and put it in my bag, a reminder, not for court. For me, the Callahan house looked smaller than my memory and larger than my shame. It sat at the end of a tree-lined street in Newton, red brick softened by ivy, front porch sagging slightly on the left because my father had always meant to fix it and died before he could. My mother planted rosemary by the steps. It was still there, stubborn and fragrant. I had not slept there since Christmas 2 years earlier. I had not eaten Sunday dinner there in almost 3. Liam carried my hospital bag. Noah walked behind me as if I might fall. Caleb unlocked the door without saying anything. The house smelled like coffee, wood polish, and the lemon soap my mother used to buy in bulk. I stood in the foyer and cried, not loudly, just enough that all 3 brothers pretended to be interested in separate tasks until I could breathe again. That was love too, giving a person privacy inside their breakdown. They put me in my old room. It had changed only slightly. New curtains, fresh sheets, the same bookshelf. A painting I made at 17 still leaned above the desk. A messy blue house under a yellow sky. I sat on the bed. Noah handed me medication and water. Take it. Do you order all your patients around? Only the stubborn ones with abdominal incisions and terrible taste in men. I almost smiled. He waited until I swallowed. Downstairs, Liam made soup from a container he probably bought and pretended was homemade. Caleb opened his laptop at the dining table. By evening, the 4 of us sat where we used to sit when our parents were alive. Liam at the head because he had been 24 when they died and no one asked whether he wanted to become a father. Noah to my left, watching my color. Caleb across from me, silent until something mattered. The empty chair at the other end still felt like our mother. I touched my spoon. I am sorry. Liam's expression tightened. No, I stopped coming home. You were being isolated. I let it happen. Noah leaned back. Claire, blame is not a pie. Evan can have all of it. I shook my head. No, I need to say this right. I chose not to call. I chose to believe him when he said you were judging me. I chose silence because it felt easier than admitting my marriage was not what I promised you it was. Caleb looked at me. We knew. My throat closed. How? You got smaller, he said. That was worse than anger. Liam pulled a folder from beside his chair. I kept copies of everything from before the wedding. I know that sounds invasive. It sounds like you. Fair. Inside were documents I had forgotten. The premarital property agreement Liam insisted I sign. Evan had hated it but signed because I told him it mattered to my brothers. It protected the house my parents left me, the trust holding proceeds from my mother's life insurance and any personal injury or inheritance assets. Evan signed this, Liam said. He knows the house is separate property. He calls it ours. It was emotionally ours, legally yours. Caleb turned his laptop toward me. I started reviewing accounts you still had access to. Evan paid a $7,000 deposit on an apartment 2 months ago. Sienna's leaseholder is an LLC registered agent traces to Blake Foundation Council, but the payment came from your joint household account. I stared at the screen 2 months ago. Evan told me we needed to reduce expenses because his mother's night nurse cost more than expected. I had cancelled my rented therapy studio. He put Sienna in an apartment. My hands went cold. Caleb continued. There are also transfers labeled consulting to a vendor tied to the hospital foundation. Could be legitimate, could be not, Liam said. We gather first, act second. I laughed softly. You all sound like a committee. Noah raised his glass. A committee that loves you and wants to commit crimes but is choosing paperwork. That did make me smile. Then my phone buzzed. Evan, I did not answer. He texted. You ran to them like I always knew you would. I looked at the message. For years, that sentence would have made me defensive. I would have typed back. I did not run. I just needed rest. I still love you. Please understand. Now I sent it to Liam. Then I turned off my phone. Good, Caleb said. You did not even see what I did. You turned off the leash. The word hit me. Leash. Yes, that night I slept in my childhood bed with the window cracked and Caleb's old leather jacket over the chair. At 3:00 a.m. I woke from a dream of hospital lights and Sienna's hand. I went downstairs for water. Liam sat at the dining table reading hospital policy manuals. You should sleep, I said. So should you? I sat across from him for a while. Neither of us spoke. Then I said, do you hate me for staying away? His face changed. Claire, please answer. He closed the manual. I hated him. I hated myself. I hated the way you smiled less every time we saw you, but I never hated you. I looked down. He made me feel like loving you meant betraying him. That is what control does. How did I not see it? Because he did not start by hurting you. He started by translating love incorrectly. I cried then. Liam let me the next morning. I made a list, not feelings, actions, request full medical record, preserve security footage, freeze joint credit line, retrieve personal files from house, restart private therapy, call Jenna about work, file assault complaint, consult divorce. At the bottom, after staring at the page for a long time, I added one more, stop apologizing for surviving. The bank manager remembered me. That was embarrassing and useful. Mrs. Mercer, she said, smiling politely as she led us into a glass-walled office. Callahan, I said before I could stop myself. She blinked. Claire Callahan. Liam glanced at me but said nothing. The bank manager adjusted quickly. Of course. Caleb sat beside me with a notebook. Liam sat on my other side. Noah had insisted on driving us but stayed in the car after I told him 3 brothers inside a bank might look like a hostage situation. I requested 5 years of statements from my personal business account, the joint household account, and the line of credit Evan and I opened for renovations that never happened. The printer ran for a long time. Paper has a sound when it is becoming evidence. Caleb organized the pages into stacks. Medical school loan, he said. Evan said the interest rate was predatory. Private debt, he said. An investor threatened him. Mother's care facility. That one I knew. Conference suite in Miami. I frowned. What? He turned the page toward me. A hotel charge from a week. Evan said he was at a trauma symposium in Chicago. The charge was in Miami. The second name on the booking was Sienna Blake. The bank manager looked at the table, suddenly fascinated by her pen. I sat back. Memory rearranged itself. The perfume on his suitcase, the tan line on his wrist, the seashell necklace I found in his drawer that he said was a gift for a nurse retiring from the hospital. Sienna had worn it in a fundraising photo. Caleb kept going. Apartment deposit, furniture, jewelry store, private dining, Blake Foundation gala tickets. I looked at Liam. How much? Caleb answered. From accounts you funded directly or indirectly, approximately $146,000 over 5 years. That appears related to Evan personally, not household necessities. The number did not hurt as much as the pattern. The lie had lived in small transactions, a transfer here, a dinner there, a debt he called temporary, a payment he said we would discuss later. My savings became his cushion. My trust became his confidence. My labor became invisible because a wife was not supposed to invoice love. Print everything, I said. The bank manager nodded quickly. After the bank, we went to the house, my house, the one Evan called ours, the one my parents left to me through a trust because Liam was paranoid and my mother was practical. Evan hated that the deed was not in both names. He said it made him feel like a guest. I told him love mattered more than paperwork. I had been wrong. A locksmith met us at noon, so did Evan. He pulled into the driveway as the locksmith opened the front door. What the hell is this? He demanded. I stood on the porch with my hospital discharge folder under one arm. I am changing the locks. This is my home. No, it is where you live. His face darkened. Claire. Liam stepped forward. I touched his sleeve. I will answer. Evan looked at the movement and hated it. I said, the property is separate. You signed the agreement. I signed that because your brothers pressured us. You signed it because you wanted to marry me. I did marry you. And then you put another woman in an apartment with our money. His eyes flickered. Caleb has been busy, he said. Yes, that happens when someone hits his sister and her husband asks for an apology. He lowered his voice. Do you want neighbors watching, for once? Yes, that stopped him. The old Claire would have begged him to take the conversation inside. The old Claire protected his image even when he broke her trust. This Claire let Mrs. Donnelly from next door water the same dead fern for 10 minutes while listening. Evan tried a softer voice. I know you are hurt. But changing locks, freezing accounts, bringing lawyers into our marriage, this is not you. I looked at him. Maybe you never met me without fear. His face tightened. The locksmith cleared his throat. Do you want the back door changed too? All doors. Evan stepped toward him. Caleb moved once, not threatening, just present. Evan stopped inside the house. I found Sienna's perfume in the downstairs bathroom, then her scarf on the armchair, then her lipstick in the drawer beside my bed. I held it up. Evan closed his eyes. It is not what you think. I laughed. That sentence should be illegal after 30. Liam photographed everything in the bedroom closet. My side had been pushed back. A garment bag I did not own hung where my winter coat used to be. I unzipped it, a red evening dress Sienna's size. Noah, who had finally come inside because patience had limits, said, do not touch it without gloves. I looked at him. He shrugged. I watch crime shows. For the first time in days I laughed fully. It hurt. It helped. In the study, I found Evan's old tablet in a drawer. It had been mine originally, then his, then forgotten. It still synced with our shared cloud account because I had set up his devices when he started his fellowship. I almost handed it to Caleb, then I stopped. No, my life, my evidence. I powered it on myself. The message app opened. Sienna, if she signs the apology, Walter can calm legal. Then you file for separation quietly. Evan, she will sign if I tell her my career depends on it. Sienna, does it always work? Evan, with Claire usually. The room went silent behind me. I read it once, then again. I did not cry. Some wounds are too clear to bleed immediately. I sent screenshots to Liam, Caleb and myself. Then I placed the tablet in a zippered folder. Evan appeared in the doorway. He saw my face, then the tablet. No, he said. I looked up. He rushed forward. Noah stepped between us. Evan stopped hard. That is private, he said. So was my surgery. His mouth opened. Nothing. I walked past him with the tablet, the property folder, and my hospital bracelet still around my wrist. At the front door, he said, Claire, if you do this, there is no coming back. I turned. That is the first true thing you have said. Maria Lopez met me in a diner 3 blocks from the hospital because she said hospital walls had ears and administrators had friends. She arrived in jeans, a grey hoodie, and the exhausted posture of someone who had just finished a 12-hour shift caring for strangers while protecting herself from employers. I came alone. My brothers hated that. I did it anyway. Liam waited in his car 2 blocks away because compromise keeps families from becoming cages. Maria slid into the booth and placed her phone face down on the table. I should not be here, she said. Then why are you? She looked at my cheek. The swelling had faded into a yellow bruise. Because I charted the truth and someone changed it. She took out folded papers from her bag, not originals, photos. The first was an incident report time-stamped 9:42 p.m. the night Sienna hit me. Patient Claire Mercer, post-operative, standing with 4 pole in VIP corridor. Sienna Blake approached, raised voice, struck patient on left side of face. Dr. Evan Mercer present, patient visibly bleeding from inner lip. I read the words 3 times. There it was, reality, not interpretation, not emotion, reality in black and white. Maria pointed to the second photo. This is what appeared in the system the next morning. Verbal disagreement between patient and visitor. No physical injury observed. Patient declined further evaluation. No physical injury. I said, I documented your lip, I documented your cheek, I documented that Dr. Mercer told you to apologize. My eyes lifted. You wrote that? Yes. Why? Because it was wrong. Such a simple sentence, such a rare one. Maria looked toward the window. At 2:00 a.m. my charge nurse called me. She said administration wanted cleaner language because Ms. Blake was not an ordinary visitor. I refused. By morning my report had been edited. My name was still on it. That is illegal, right? Hospital policy violation, possibly worse. I am not a lawyer. Luckily my brother is insufferable. She almost smiled, then her face tightened. Security has footage, Dennis told me. Dennis. Night security supervisor, good man, 2 kids, mortgage. He was told to mark the hallway camera as corrupted. My stomach clenched. By whom? Hospital administration. He did not say names. Would he talk? Maybe, if he believed he would not be alone. I thought of myself in the hospital hallway. Alone until I was not. Can I keep these photos? Maria hesitated. Yes, but please understand, I can lose my job. I understand. No, she said, sharper than before. I know you are hurt, but people like me do not survive rich people's scandals easily. I sat back. She was right. Pain can make you careless with other people's risk. I am sorry, I said. Tell me what would make it safer. She studied me. Written legal notice, whistleblower protection if I testify. I need to know I am not just a loose end after your divorce. I nodded. Then we do it properly. Her shoulders loosened by a fraction. You sound like your brother. Do not insult me. This time she did smile. After Maria left, I called Liam. She has photos. She needs protection before she testifies. I am already drafting. Of course you are. Was she credible? Yes. Good. I looked at the diner table at the coffee I had not touched. Liam. Yeah, thank you for not coming in. A pause. Hardest thing I have done all week. I know. Claire. Yeah, you are doing this yourself. Do not let anyone, including us, tell you otherwise. I swallowed. Okay. That afternoon, Liam sent legal hold notices to St. Andrews, the Blake Foundation, Evan, Sienna, Walter Blake, and hospital security contractors. Preserve all video, audio, emails, access logs, incident reports, metadata, visitor records, staff communications, and medical chart audit trails related to Claire Callahan Mercer, Evan Mercer, Sienna Blake, Walter Blake, and the incident of May 14. It was beautiful in the way only threatening paperwork can be. By evening, Caleb received an anonymous email, subject, hallway attachment 05-14 VIP corridor backup, MP4, no message. He called me to his office at the Callahan house. All 3 brothers were there. I did not ask for a committee. I said. Caleb said, you got a viewing party. Noah stood behind my chair. Liam stood by the wall. Caleb opened the file. The video was silent at first. There I was, walking slowly with the 4-pole pale, bent slightly at the waist, Sienna coming toward me like a storm in heels. Her mouth moved, my mouth moved, then her hand flew. Even without sound, the violence looked worse than memory. A body knows impact as chaos. A camera knows it as fact. Evan entered the frame seconds later. He went to Sienna first. I watched myself touch my cheek. I watched Evan turn to me and speak, my hand with the phone lowered. Then the elevator opened. My brothers stepped out. Caleb paused the video on that frame. 3 men at the end of a hallway, my face in the foreground, Evan between me and Sienna, a marriage caught in one image. Noah's voice was rough. I want to kill him. No, I said. Everyone looked at me. I want to beat him in every room where he thought I would stay quiet. Liam nodded. That we can do. Caleb checked the file metadata. Dennis sent this. How do you know? Security export format. Also, he left his initials in the file path by accident. Is that bad? For him, maybe. For us, useful. I looked at the frozen image again. The slap had become evidence, the apology demand had become recording, the altered report had become proof of cover-up. Evan used to tell me I remembered things too emotionally. Now the machines remembered with me. The St. Andrews Foundation Gala had always made me feel invisible in expensive rooms. I had attended 3 times as Evan's wife. Each year, I chose a black dress, smiled beside him, and watched Sienna Blake float between donors like she owned gratitude itself. She knew every name, every table, every camera angle. She once told me, doctors save lives, but donors make sure people notice. This year I arrived through the front entrance without Evan. Liam hated that too. Again, compromise. He was inside already, seated at a legal advisor's table after submitting notice that he represented me. Noah refused to attend because he said if he saw Evan in a tuxedo, His medical ethics would be tested. Caleb monitored from a corner with the calm of a man who knew where every exit and camera lived. I wore navy, not black. Morning was overworked in my life. The bruise on my cheek was mostly gone, but makeup could not hide the memory. I did not try. Conversation shifted when I entered. Sienna saw me. First, she stood near the stage in silver, hair swept over one shoulder, Walter Blake beside her. Evan stood on her other side, not touching her, not far enough. He looked at me and lost color. Good. Sienna recovered faster. She came toward me with a soft smile. Claire, she said, I am surprised you felt well enough to attend. Post-operative patients can walk. Her smile tightened. Of course. Walter Blake joined us. He was broad, polished, and used to rooms opening for him. Mrs. Mercer, he said, this evening is important to the hospital. I hope we can all behave with dignity. I brought mine. Caleb coughed into his glass somewhere behind me. Walter's eyes hardened. Public scenes help no one. Then perhaps your daughter should avoid hitting patients in hallways. Sienna's lips parted. Evan said quietly, Claire, please. I looked at him. That word had become a graveyard. The program began. I took my assigned seat near the back. Not the spousal table. That seat had been removed, just like my place in the marriage. Sienna had planned the room well. On stage, Walter spoke first. He talked about healing, excellence, community trust. Then Sienna stepped up. Her voice trembled beautifully. In recent days, she said, our hospital family has faced painful personal attacks and misunderstandings. I have learned that compassion sometimes means staying silent when others try to hurt you. A murmur moved through the room. She placed a hand over her heart. Tonight I choose grace. I almost admired the performance, almost. Evan sat rigid near the stage. Eyes down. He was letting her do it again. I stood, not fast, not dramatically, just enough that the tables near me noticed. Liam stood too, but stayed where he was. I walked toward the stage steps carrying a cream envelope. Sienna stopped speaking. Walter moved first. Mrs. Mercer, this is not appropriate. I handed the envelope to the hospital board chair seated at the front table. Legal hold confirmation, ethics complaint, and notice of evidence preservation failure regarding the altered incident report. The board chair, Dr. Elaine Porter, opened it. Walter's face darkened. Sienna whispered into the microphone. This is what I mean. The microphone caught it. The room heard. I turned to her. No, Sienna, what you mean is that silence protected you. I did not say more. That was important. Evidence first, speeches later. I returned to my seat while whispers spread like ink in water. Sienna tried to continue, but the softness had gone brittle. Her story needed me unstable. Calm did not fit her script. After the program, Evan followed me to the parking garage. Claire, I kept walking. He caught up near a concrete pillar. You cannot keep doing this. I turned. Doing what? Showing up where you know it will cause damage. I stared at him. You mean the hospital where I was a patient, the gala where I have attended as your wife for years, the house I own, which place exactly belongs only to your version of events? He ran a hand through his hair. You're angry. Yes. You are grieving. Yes, you are. Letting your brothers weaponize that. I stepped closer. No, I am letting myself stop protecting you from it. His face softened, or tried to. Claire, I missed your calls. That was unforgivable. I know that now, but Sienna and I were not what you think. I laughed. Careful. What? If you lie badly, I might start feeling embarrassed for you. His eyes flashed. There was emotional closeness. It crossed lines, but it was complicated. Did you pay her apartment deposit from our account? He went still. That is complicated too. He looked toward the elevators. You do not understand the pressure Walter put on me. There it is. Another man made you betray me. I am not saying that. Then say the sentence without furniture around it. He looked at me. The garage hummed with fluorescent light. I had an affair, he said. The words should have shattered something. Instead, they landed on broken glass already spread across the floor. Thank you, I said. He blinked. For telling one truth. Pain crossed his face. I never wanted to lose you. No, you wanted to keep me and have her. He closed his eyes. Maybe that tiny word ended the last argument my heart had been making in his defense. I walked away. He called after me. If you go forward, Walter will come after you. I turned. Then he can stand in line. Sienna was wearing my robe when I opened the bedroom door. Not a similar robe, mine, blue cotton, frayed belt, paint stain on the sleeve from a project I did with a 6-year-old patient who believed stars should be green. Sienna stood barefoot on my bedroom rug, holding a mug from my kitchen, wearing my robe like she had earned softness in my house. For a moment, I did not speak. The police officer behind me cleared his throat. We had arranged a civil standby because Liam expected Evan to make the house difficult. Even Liam had not predicted this. Evan appeared from the bathroom doorway. His shirt was untucked, his hair was damp. Claire, the officer looked from him to me. Is this your residence? Yes. Sienna pulled the robe tighter. This is Evan's marital home. I opened the folder in my hand. No, this is my separate property. I handed the officer the deed, the trust documents and the premarital agreement. He read them with the slow attention of a man who wanted lunch but not a lawsuit. Evan's face went red. Claire, don't do this. I looked at the bed, our bed, the quilt my mother made folded at the foot, Sienna's gold bracelet on my nightstand. No, not our bed anymore. The civil standby is for me to retrieve personal and legal documents, I said. But since you changed the locks without permission and brought a guest into my separate property, my attorney will address that. Sienna laughed, but it shook. Guest, I have been taking care of Evan because you abandoned him. I looked at her robe. You look very burdened. The officer's mouth twitched. Evan stepped toward me. You left. I was recovering from surgery at my family home after your girlfriend assaulted me. You cannot keep calling her that. Mistress. Sienna flinched. Fine, the woman wearing my robe after sleeping with my husband in my house. The officer looked down at the paperwork again. Evan lowered his voice. Claire, there is no need to humiliate anyone. I stared at him. Incredible. He looked confused. You only recognize humiliation when it enters your room, the officer said carefully. Sir, based on these documents, Ms. Callahan appears to have lawful control of the premises. You may want to consult counsel regarding occupancy. For now, she is entitled to retrieve items. I live here, Evan snapped. Then you should have respected the owner. That came from Caleb standing in the hallway with a moving box. The officer looked at him. Caleb smiled. Brother, box carrier, generally peaceful. Generally, I murmured, optimistically. I went to the closet. Sienna did not move. Take it off, I said. Her eyes widened. Excuse me, the robe, Evan said. Claire, I kept my voice level, that belonged to my mother. Take it off and leave it on the chair. The room changed. Even Sienna heard something in my tone that did not invite debate. She went into the bathroom and came back wearing her dress. She dropped the robe on the chair as if it burned. I picked it up with 2 fingers and placed it in a laundry bag. Evidence, maybe. Memory, unfortunately. Then I packed my birth certificate, passport, therapy notes, business files, the tablet, my mother's quilt, the sketchbooks from my old patients, the framed photo of my parents, jewelry that mattered. Nothing Evan had bought me. In the study, I found more printed schedules, hospital committee notes, a draft statement titled regarding Claire Mercer's emotional health. My hands went cold. The statement described me as fragile, recently unstable, struggling with reproductive grief, and under the influence of estranged family members. It was dated 2 days after the hospital incident. Before I had filed anything, before I had made any public statement. They had planned to discredit me before I spoke. I photographed it. Then I heard raised voices downstairs. Evan stood in the living room arguing with the officer. Sienna stood near the fireplace texting quickly. Caleb glanced at her phone. She's messaging Walter. Sienna snapped. Do not look at my phone. Then do not hold it at billboard angle. I walked downstairs. Evan, I am requesting that you both leave the property today. He stared. You are throwing me out of my home. I am asking you to leave a house you used to betray me. His face twisted. This is punishment. No, this is access control. The officer stepped in. Sir, this is a civil matter, but given the documentation, I recommend you leave and resolve occupancy through attorneys. Evan looked at me for the first time. He looked afraid, not of losing me, of losing shelter, image, ground. Sienna, he said, get your things. She stared at him. You are letting her do this. He did not answer. A small satisfaction moved through me, not enough to heal, enough to warm my fingers. Sienna gathered 2 bags from the guest room too. She had not visited once. She had been staying here at the front door. She turned. You think this makes you strong? No, I said. It makes me the owner. She flushed. After they left, I stood in the living room among boxes and dust. The house felt violated, but not dead. Caleb locked the door behind them. Do you want to stay here tonight? I looked around. The couch where Evan kissed me after proposing, the kitchen where I wired him money, the hallway where I waited for him to come home from surgeries that had actually been hotel rooms. No, Caleb nodded. Good, good. This house needs cleaning before healing. I laughed tiredly. That sounds like something Mom would say. It is. I stole it. We packed the last box at the door. I paused and looked back. For 5 years, I had tried to build a marriage in a house already protecting me legally. Paperwork had done what love did not. It had kept a door with my name on it. The ethics hearing was held in a room with no windows that felt appropriate. St. Andrew's Hospital had spent years selling light glass atriums, healing gardens, patient-centered care printed on every brochure, but when something ugly happened, they moved it to the basement level, past medical records and a vending machine that hummed like bad fluorescent conscience. I sat at one side of the table with Liam. Noah attended as my medical support person, not as a witness. He wore a jacket over his scrubs and looked like he would rather be removing glass from someone than listening to administrators. Caleb sat behind us with his laptop. Across the table sat Evan, Sienna, Walter Blake, 2 hospital attorneys, HR, risk management, and DR, Elaine Porter, the board chair. Maria sat outside waiting to testify. Dennis, the security supervisor, waited too. Sienna looked pale, Evan looked angry, Walter looked offended that consequences had found the elevator. DR Porter opened the hearing. We are here to review allegations of patient assault, incident report alteration, inappropriate staff conduct, possible retaliation and conflicts of interest, Sienna whispered. This is insane. DR Porter looked at her. Ms. Blake, you will have time to speak. Maria came in first. Her voice shook at the beginning then steadied. She described seeing me in the hallway with my 4-pole. Sienna approaching, the raised voices, the slap, my bleeding lip. Evan telling me to apologize. The original incident report, the altered version. Hospital counsel tried to soften it. Could Ms. Blake's hand have made contact unintentionally during a heated exchange? Maria looked at him. No. Could Mrs. Mercer have moved toward Ms. Blake first? She was holding an 4-pole and bracing herself on the wall. Was Ms. Blake emotionally distressed? She slapped a patient. That ended that. Dennis came next. He was a heavy-set man with tired eyes and a wedding ring he kept turning. He admitted receiving a call from the administrator on duty instructing him to label camera B17 corrupted. Was the footage corrupted? Liam asked. No. Did you preserve a backup? Yes. Why? Dennis looked at me. Because my wife had surgery last year. If someone hit her in a hospital and people tried to pretend it did not happen, I would want one person to keep proof. Sienna looked down. Walter did not. Caleb submitted metadata verification. The video played. No sound, no need. There was Sienna's hand. There was my body recoiling. There was Evan going to her. Then Liam played the audio from my phone. Sienna's voice. You selfish little martyr. The slap. Evan. You need to apologize. Then me. Ask me again when my brothers get here. Even DR Porter blinked. Walter leaned forward. This recording was made without consent, Liam said. State law permits one-party consent. My client consented. Sienna's attorney objected to relevance. DR Porter overruled him. Then came the audit trail. My emergency contact changed by Evan using internal access. Sienna listed as secondary. Calls placed to Evan. No answer. Call to Sienna. Answered no. Documentation that she relayed my surgical status promptly. Noah's hand closed around his pen so tightly I thought it might snap. Evan finally spoke. I changed the contact because Claire's brothers had been aggressive toward me in the past. Liam smiled slightly. Name one incident. Evan's mouth tightened. They made me feel unwelcome. Feelings are not incidents. No answer. DR Porter asked. DR Mercer, did your wife authorize listing Ms. Blake as an emergency contact? Evan looked at the table. Not explicitly. The room changed. Not explicitly, a phrase people use when the honest answer is no. Walter spoke up. The focus here should be on patient care, not personal marital conflict. I looked at him. Patient care is why I am here. He ignored me. Sienna made a mistake under emotional strain. DR Mercer made an administrative judgment. This has been inflated by Mrs. Mercer's family. DR Porter said. Mr. Blake, your email to risk management described Mrs. Mercer as a reputational threat before any investigation was completed. Walter went still. Liam placed the email on the screen. Need this contained before Callahan Brothers turn it into a lawsuit. Frame as unstable spouse issue, not patient assault. My hands went cold. There it was, not just Evan, a system. Sienna's eyes filled. My father was trying to protect me. I spoke before Liam could. From what? The camera. She looked at me. I was scared of you. I laughed softly. I was in a hospital gown. You hated me. I hated what you did. That did not make my face your property. Her tears spilled. Evan told me you were manipulative. He said you used your brothers to control him. He said you would never leave because you needed him. Evan turned sharply. Sienna. She looked at him, panic rising. He said if I helped him get through the divorce quietly, we could finally be together without your drama. The room went silent. Evan closed his eyes. The mistress had become a witness against him because self-preservation is stronger than romance. Dr. Porter recessed the hearing. When they returned, her decision was temporary but powerful. Evan was suspended from consideration for trauma center director pending further review. His internal access privileges were restricted. Sienna was placed on administrative leave. Walter Blake was recused from all matters involving the investigation. The incident report would be corrected. My patient record would include an addendum noting the original alteration. The hospital would refer the matter to external review. It was not everything, it was a crack in the wall. Outside the hearing room, Evan caught up with me. Claire, Liam stepped forward. I said, "No, I will answer." Evan looked wrecked. "She lied in there." "About what?" "About us planning a divorce." "Did you?" He looked at me again. Silence. I nodded. "You keep making this easier." His face broke. "Nothing about this is easy." "No. Easy was what you wanted. Me apologizing, me signing, me going home, me pretending the handprint on my face was a misunderstanding." He whispered, "I am sorry," for the first time. The words sounded real. For the first time they did not matter. Divorce court did not look dramatic. No polished jury box, no thunder, no weeping music. Just a beige room, a judge with reading glasses, fluorescent lights, attorneys with folders, and two people who once bought a couch together sitting on opposite sides of a line only the law could see. Evan wore a grey suit. He looked tired. I wore black pants and a cream blouse that did not pull against my incisions. My hospital wristband was in a clear evidence sleeve in Liam's file. The temporary hearing addressed occupancy, financial restraints, harassment, access to accounts and communication boundaries. It sounded procedural. It was not. Procedure is where people learn whether the life they built on someone else's silence can keep standing. Evan's attorney went first. He described me as emotionally distressed after a medical event. He said my brothers had taken control of the marital narrative. He said Evan wanted reconciliation but had been blocked. He said removing Evan from the home was punitive and unnecessary. He said my allegations about Sienna were being handled by the hospital and should not prejudice the divorce. Then he said I had a history of anxiety. I looked at Liam. He did not look angry. That was when I knew Evan had made a mistake. Liam stood. "Your Honor, my client does have a history of anxiety. Much of it is documented during a marriage in which her husband isolated her from family, accessed her medical portal without consent, changed her emergency contact to his affair partner, failed to answer 11 calls during a medical emergency, allowed that same affair partner to assault her in a hospital, then asked her to sign a release disguised as an apology." Evan's attorney objected. The judge allowed Liam to continue with exhibits. Exhibit A, medical record, acute ectopic pregnancy, emergency laparoscopic surgery, postoperative status at time of assault. Exhibit B, call log, 11 calls to Evan Mercer, no response. Exhibit C, emergency contact audit, Sienna Blake added by Evan's internal credentials. Exhibit D, hallway video, the judge watched silently. Exhibit E, audio, you need to apologize. Evan stared at the table. Exhibit F, altered hospital report and corrected report. Exhibit G, apology statement and release. Exhibit H, bank records, joint funds used for Sienna's apartment deposit, my transfers paying Evan's private debts. Exhibit I, property deed and premarital agreement. The judge took off her glasses. Dr. Mercer, I have one question before counsel continues. Evan lifted his head. Why did you ask a post-operative patient to apologize to the person who struck her? The room held its breath. Evan opened his mouth, closed it, then said, I was trying to de-escalate. The judge looked at the screen, still paused on Sienna's hand hitting my face. That is not an answer. No one spoke. Finally Evan said, I made a terrible mistake. His attorney shifted beside him. The judge leaned back. I am inclined to agree. By the end of the hearing, I had exclusive temporary occupancy of the house. Evan was ordered not to enter without written agreement or court order. Joint accounts were frozen except for ordinary expenses. Evan was ordered to reimburse disputed withdrawals pending final accounting. Communication was limited to a court-approved app or attorneys. A temporary no-harassment order covered Evan and third parties acting on his behalf. Sienna's name appeared in a family court order. I hoped she framed it as we left. Reporters waited in the hallway. Someone must have tipped them off. Maybe Sienna, maybe Walter, maybe a court watcher who smelled scandal. Mrs. Mercer, did your husband abandon you during surgery? Dr. Mercer, are you still with Sienna Blake? Claire, did your brothers pressure you into divorce? I stopped. Liam said quietly, you do not have to. I know. I faced the cameras. My brothers did not pressure me into divorce. I said, a woman hit me in a hospital and my husband asked me to apologize. That was enough. Then I walked away. Evan caught up near the courthouse doors. Claire, I kept walking. Please, one conversation without lawyers. I stopped. No. Are you afraid of me? I turned that question, that last attempt to make boundaries look like weakness. No, I said, I am done giving you private rooms to rewrite public harm. He flinched. Did you ever love me? The question was unfair, it deserved a cruel answer. I gave it a true one. Yes, that is why you had so much time to hurt me. His face crumpled. For 1 second. I saw the Evan from our beginning, the resident who fell asleep at my kitchen table over anatomy notes, the man who cried when his mother forgot his name after surgery, the husband I cooked for, paid for, waited for. Then I remembered Sienna's hand, his voice, apologize. I left that evening. I returned to my house with Caleb and changed the bedroom, not renovated, not dramatically burned things, just changed, new sheets, my mother's quilt cleaned, Evan's remaining clothes boxed and labeled, Sienna's lipstick placed in an evidence bag because Liam insisted, the blue robe washed twice, then folded into a cedar chest. I was not ready to wear it, I was not ready to throw it away. Healing is often sorting, keep, remove, evidence, memory, trash. At midnight my phone buzzed through the court app. Evan, I am sorry for the hospital, I am sorry for Sienna, I am sorry for not answering. I do not expect forgiveness, but I need you to know I understand now. I read it once, then I typed acknowledged. Please direct all further communication through counsel. Send. No explanation, no comfort, no door. Sienna went to the media first. That surprised no one except perhaps Sienna, who seemed to believe being predictable was a form of innocence. Her interview aired on a local morning segment under the headline Hospital Fundraiser Caught in Divorce Crossfire. She wore pale pink and no visible jewelry, her hair was soft, her makeup made her look tired but brave. The interviewer nodded sympathetically while Sienna spoke about being verbally attacked by a doctor's unstable spouse and physically cornered during a painful private moment. She did not mention the four-pole, she did not mention my surgery, she did not mention her hand, she said my brothers intimidated her, she said Evan was trying to protect everyone, she said the truth would come out. For once, she was right. Dana called before the segment ended. Do you want to respond today or wait? I looked at the television in Liam's office. My brothers were all there because apparently emotional independence still allowed group outrage. Noah said, I vote today. Caleb said, I vote with exhibits. Liam said, I vote. Claire decides. I looked at Sienna's face frozen on the screen. For years, I had let other people explain me. Evan explained me to his colleagues. Helena Mercer explained me as delicate. Sienna explained me as unstable. Even my brothers, with love, had once explained me as too forgiving. No more. I want to write it myself, I said. Dana paused. Good. The statement took 3 drafts. The first was too angry, the second was too legal, the third sounded like me. I stood outside St. Andrew's Hospital at 4:00 p.m. with Dana beside me, Liam behind the cameras but not at the microphone, and Noah and Caleb nowhere visible because I asked them to give me the frame. This was mine. Reporters gathered quickly. Sienna had made sure there was an audience. I unfolded the paper. My name is Claire Callahan Mercer. Recently, while recovering from emergency surgery at St. Andrew's Hospital, I was struck in the face by Sienna Blake. At the time, I was wearing a surgical wristband and holding an 4-pole. Cameras clicked. My husband, Dr. Evan Mercer, was present. Instead of protecting me, he asked me to apologize. I refused then and I refuse now. My hand did not shake. There are corrected hospital records, witness statements, security footage, and an ongoing ethics review. I will not try every detail in public, but I will not allow violence to be renamed emotion, and I will not allow a patient to be blamed for bleeding. A reporter asked, Are your brothers driving this case? I looked directly at her. My brothers walked in when I needed them. They did not make my choices, I did. Another reporter asked, Are you seeking revenge? No, I am seeking a record that matches reality. Do you want Dr. Mercer fired? I want the hospital to decide whether a doctor who changed his wife's emergency contact to his affair partner and asked a post-operative patient to apologize for being hit meets its ethical standards. That line made the evening news. Good, not because it sounded dramatic, because it was true. After the statement, I returned to the Callahan house for dinner. For the first time in years, The family table felt less like confession and more like landing. Caleb made pasta badly. Noah criticized the salt. Liam opened wine and pretended he was not watching me for signs of collapse. I did not collapse. I ate later. After everyone left the kitchen, I found Caleb washing dishes. You know we can use the dishwasher, I said. It makes weird noises. It has made those noises since 2008, and I have mistrusted it since 2008. I dried plates beside him. After a while he said, "You looked like Mom today." I stopped. That is unfair. I know, our mother had been calm in crisis, not soft calm, steel calm, the kind that made doctors answer better and insurance companies regret calling. I forgot what she looked like sometimes, I said. Caleb nodded. Me too. The grief was old enough to sit with us quietly. Then the doorbell rang. Liam called from the hallway. "Do not move." I moved, of course. Evan stood on the porch. He looked soaked though it had only drizzled. No coat, no tie, no sienna. Liam stood between us immediately. I said, "It's okay." "It is not," Liam replied. "I know, but I can speak." Liam stepped aside not far. Evan looked at me like he had been rehearsing words that failed on sight. "I saw your statement." I waited. "You were right." The porch light hummed. "About which part?" "All of it. A month ago I would have cried. Now I only felt tired." "Sienna is blaming me," he said. "Walter is distancing himself. The hospital suspended my privileges pending review. My mother says I destroyed the family name." That sounds like a conversation for a therapist. His mouth twisted. "I deserved that." I said nothing. He stepped closer. Liam shifted. Evan stopped. "I do not expect you to forgive me tonight." "Good. But I want to try. I will do counseling. I will testify honestly. I will end everything with Sienna. I already did." I looked at him. "Did you end it because it was wrong or because it stopped working?" His face changed. "Claire, answer." He looked down. The porch answered for him. I almost smiled, but it would have been sad. "You still think honesty is what you say after you run out of options?" "I love you. I believe you believe that." His eyes filled. "Is there any path back?" Behind me, my brothers were silent. No one rescued me. No one interrupted. The girl Evan isolated had once needed permission to choose pain over hope. The woman on the porch did not. "No," I said. The word was quiet, final. His eyes closed. "I will sign whatever is fair. I hope you do. And if I do everything right now, then you will become a better man for a life that is not mine." The sentence hurt him. It hurt me too. That did not make it wrong. He nodded slowly. Then he turned and walked back down the steps. This time, no one followed. The divorce finalized 6 months after the slap. That sounded fast to people who did not know how long I had been leaving. The final agreement gave me exclusive ownership of the house, reimbursement for documented marital funds used for Sienna's apartment and Evan's private debts, damages tied to unauthorized financial withdrawals, and a clean severance of all shared accounts. Evan kept his retirement. I kept my name, Callahan, not because Mercer meant nothing, because it had cost too much. St. Andrews completed its external review 2 weeks before the divorce hearing. The final report did not use poetic language. It did not have to. Patient assault occurred. Incident report was improperly altered. Emergency contact access was misused. Conflict of interest protocols failed. Retaliatory language was used against patient. Sienna Blake resigned before termination could be finalized. Her father stepped down from the board after emails showed he had pressured risk management to frame the incident as a domestic dispute. Sienna accepted a plea arrangement on the assault complaint, paid restitution, completed mandated anger management, and signed a civil settlement that included a public correction. Her correction was not long. It did not need to be. I struck Claire Callahan Mercer in a hospital hallway while she was recovering from surgery. My prior public statements did not accurately describe the event. I read it once. Then I closed the laptop. Evan's consequences were quieter and, for him, worse. His trauma center appointment vanished. His privileges were restricted pending ethics remediation. He transferred to a smaller practice outside the city. Medical boards move slowly, but his name no longer opened doors the same way. He sent no more porch apologies. Only one letter came after the divorce. Through counsel, Dana summarized it. He says he is not asking for contact. He says he understands now that apology without accountability is another demand. He says he hopes you heal. I thought about reading it, then I decided not to. Put it in the file. Healing did not require consuming every improved version of the man who hurt me. A year after the hospital hallway, I opened the Callahan room. It was not a business empire, not a revenge foundation with my face on brochures, just a warm, bright studio beside a pediatric rehabilitation clinic where children could paint, build, tear paper, smear clay, and learn that bodies with scars still made beautiful things. Noah connected me with the clinic, Liam reviewed the lease, Caleb installed security cameras, then pretended it was normal to label each one with a name from our childhood dogs. I let them help, that was new too. Boundaries did not mean doing everything alone. On opening day, children painted a mural across one wall. A girl with a leg brace painted a dragon wearing sneakers. A boy with burn scars painted the ocean purple. A quiet child who had not spoken all morning painted a house with 4 stick figures standing around a smaller one. I knew that shape, protection, not control. At noon, my brothers arrived with sandwiches and too many flowers. Liam looked around the studio. Mom would have cried, Noah said. Dad would have pretended not to, Caleb said. Dad cried at dog food commercials. We laughed then because life enjoys timing. A courier arrived with a small package addressed to Claire Callahan. Inside was my old wedding ring. Evan had returned it through council with a note attached. It belongs to you. I am sorry for what it cost. I held the ring in my palm for months. I had imagined throwing it away, selling it, melting it, hating it. Instead, I walked to my office, opened the bottom drawer, and placed it beside the hospital wristband. The wristband was still faded but readable. Claire Mercer, emergency surgery, May 14. I added a label beneath it. The day I stopped apologizing, the ring went beside it. Not as a memory of love, as evidence of leaving. That evening, after everyone went home, I stood alone in the studio. Sunset touched the paint-splattered tables. The room smelled of tempera, paper, and lemon cleaner. On the wall, the children's mural glowed wild and uneven. My phone buzzed, a message from Noah in the family group chat. Dinner Sunday, no excuses. Caleb cooking if you refuse. So choose wisely. Caleb replied, hostile and defamatory. Liam replied, legally supportable. I laughed out loud, then I typed, I will be there. 3 simple words. A year earlier, I would have felt guilty sending them. Now they felt like a door opening. I locked the studio and stepped outside. The air was cool. My cheek no longer hurt. My incisions had faded to small pale marks. The grief of the pregnancy still came sometimes, sharp and private, but it no longer lived beside Evan's name. It belonged to me, and I cared for it carefully. I did not become fearless, that was not the point. I became unwilling to confuse fear with instruction. Sienna's slap had been meant to put me in my place. Evan's demand had been meant to keep me there. My brothers walking in did not save me like heroes in a story. They reminded me I had a witness, then I became one for myself. I walked to my car under the streetlights, no ring on my finger, no apology left in my mouth, and no man waiting at home to decide whether my pain was convenient. For the first time in years, the silence around me did not feel lonely, it felt like mine.